I think we already have a few questions. There's one question. May I answer this question after I'm done with the presentation? I'll take all the questions together.
Yeah, it will be better if they first know the basics like introduction, then you'll answer the questions. It will
Yeah.
be for
Okay,
let everyone join before that.
okay, sure. That works.
Hello. Hello.
Should we start?
Yeah, it's me, Sangmitra.
Yeah, should we start?
Uh, Wait for 2 more minutes. I will ask first year student to join as soon as possible. Is anyone from first year here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
please introduce your classmates or batchmates so that they can join as soon as possible. So we can proceed the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
मतलब की करिए अब हाँ कान में क्या लगी थी? कान में लगी थी कॉल वाले टोने
Hello, Medha ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am. That's a little.
You are my senior, so I have to.
No, don't call me ma'am. Call me by my name. We don't call at our university. We don't call anybody ma'am or anything. Call me by my name.
Okay, so I want to say that now you can introduce yourself as of now 43 students are joined the meeting. So you
Oh.
can start now.
Okay. Hello everyone. Thank you for having me. And I'm Medha Bhattacharya. I'm from Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women in Delhi, of course. And I'm a third year student currently pursuing my undergraduate in computer science and engineering. And last year I was fortunate enough to participate in Google Summer of Code. And I'm here to brief you all about the program and how you can participate in it and how you can hopefully get selected. So, does that suffice? Should we start?
Yeah, I think now you can start.
I got feedback that I think you are not very familiar with what the entire program is all about, what Google Summer is all about. So I'm going to brief you out a little bit about what the program is, about how you can get in.
Medha, 1 minute. Sanmitra, mute your mic, please.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so I'll start now. So Google Summer of Code is a program wherein students are encouraged to become more development. And what this program is about, it's under Google's flagship. It is not a hiring program by Google. So Google does not hire by this program. But what it does is it arranges for many organizations to come together, and it allows for students to work for those organizations and work open source. So in case there are first year students and other students who do not know about what open source development is, it means that the source code of a particular software or a program is open and available to everyone to learn about, to understand, and to modify. So basically what happens is that these organizations, they are developing some kind of software product, and what they want to do is they want to keep their software open instead of proprietary. Instead of keeping it to themselves and their own organization, they want to open it up to anybody on internet, and they want people to participate in improving it, in improving the code structure, removing the bugs, debugging it. So what actually happens in this program is that for 3 months, 2 to 3 months, students work on a particular software project wherein they help an organization under this program to develop some kind of software product, software part of software, to get rid of some bugs, do something regarding software development. And for this you get paid 3,000 US dollars. I mean, until last year you used to get paid, I mean, students used to get paid 3,000 US dollars, but for some reason I think it has been reduced in 2021, though I am not sure by how much it is reduced. But still, it's a very decent pay, a very decent stipend for sitting in the comfort in your home and learning to do stuff that you might have always dreamed about doing. For example, in my case, I always wanted to learn a bit about machine learning. So, and I had done a few projects here and there, but I really wanted to learn about that. And I'm also particularly now more so, I'm crazy about software development. So I wanted to get into the field and I wanted to get a feel of how things are in real life. So I wanted to participate in this, and I got to know about this via something like this session. I got to know about it from another of my seniors at my university. So in this program, and it's a flagship program of Google, and it's particularly prestigious for three main reasons. First, it's being organized by Google. Secondly, you get stipend, you get a good stipend, and you get to learn a lot. And basically, after you complete this thing, you also get a certificate of approval, certificate of completion from Google that, okay, that you have completed this and you have completed a software development project, and Google recognizes it basically. So everybody else, the organization recognizes it, Google recognizes it. So it's like an acclamation of the fact that you are a good programmer, you understand programming, and you can work by yourself. And the third thing is that this is a selective program. So basically, it's not like that just because you have filled out the form or you're interested in getting into it does not mean that you're going to get selected also. So because this is selective, there is stipend, it's a Google program. So you get to, it's a prestigious program for most computer science students. Also, why should you participate in it? Because you will get to learn a lot about what real world software engineering is about, what problem solving is about in the realist sense. And also you get to use your summer to do something really productive. So I always encourage people at my university, and I encourage people elsewhere, to participate in this program, because it's an amazing program, to be sure. So till now, it's been running for around, I don't know, like 16-17 years. So it's very established. As a matter of fact, 16,000 plus students have participated in it over the years, 111 countries. And, there are more than 715 open source organizations that take part in this. Now, to clear out points, there are usually a few misconceptions that since this is being organized by Google, would we get into Google if we complete this? Does getting selected in Google Summer of Code mean getting selected into Google as a software development engineer? So the answer to all those questions is no. What this does is it basically gives you an edge if you're applying for Google. For example, suppose you have completed Google Summer of Code. So if you're applying with Google on maybe an off-campus opportunity or in any other way, they would consider you above maybe other students who have similar background. So they would want to focus more on you. That does happen. They themselves, Google mentions it, that when you've completed, do mention it in your resume when you're sending the resume to us. Also, there are other organizations also who are familiar with Google Summer of Code. They do consider it to be something of an advantage over other students. But the matter of the fact is, you have to be very good at your programming, basic programming, to get anywhere in any. To get selected for any kind of placement, to get selected in any kind of internship. Even to get selected in this, you have to have a good base. So talking about eligibility, who all are eligible for this program? All students, actually, anybody who is above 18 years of age, who is enrolled in a university, any undergrad, graduate, postgraduate, PhD scholar, postdoctoral fellow, anybody can apply for this, provided that you're currently enrolled in a college, in a university, anywhere. And the field is not restricted to computer science. The field can be anything, provided that you know something about programming, provided that you can show your skills to the mentors who are, who are going to be participating with that organization. So, for example, there is an organization, let's say the organization is Linux organization. It always participates. So there will be certain project ideas, and with the project ideas, there will be associated project mentors. So your point of contact, your point of getting into the organization is via the mentors. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to contact the mentors, and you're trying to understand what the project idea is all about, and you're trying to formulate your own way of how to get around doing that. And I'll explain this further with the example of my own project that I did last year. So moving forward, how does one participate in Google Summer of Code? Now that I've already established the fact that it's a beneficial idea to participate in Google Summer of Code, also let me mention this, since it is Summer of Code, it is organized during the summer vacation for most students. So the period of getting selected is around May and it ends by August end. So your main coding period coincides with your summer vacation, that is from June to August. So it's a very beneficial period, because otherwise most of the people do sit around at that point of time, maybe learning something. But if you are taking part in this program, you get to learn something as well as you get to earn and make a name for yourself. So how does one participate? The first step is, of course, by visiting the homepage of Google Summer of Code, and for that you have to visit this particular site. Good God, it opened. You have to visit this site, and then you have to visit, to understand what students are supposed to do, how as a student you should proceed. You should be visiting this site. I'll be hopefully sharing this PPT with everyone so you can get the links. After this, you have to, for example, many things depend on at what point of time you're applying. So at this point of time, the organizations who are going to take part in this Summer of Code have not been announced yet. So if the organization has not been announced, their project ideas have also not been announced. Most people would prefer to apply after the organizations have been announced publicly and after their ideas are announced, so that you can browse the project ideas and choose which one of the ideas you want to work on. But the problem with that is that because this program is so widely famed and because it's kind of competitive and people do want to get in at at any point of time, what they do is they usually start contacting the organizations earlier, before they are even announced. So what people would usually do is, what students usually do is, they would go on the homepage of Google Summer of Code and they'll go through the archives of the previous year projects that have been completed by students. There is an archive available. So what happens is, they visit the archive, they click on projects, find out which organization has participated before in the previous year, and they contact that organization mentors, asking them whether they are going to participate this year also or not. And if they reply in affirmative, then they start inquiring about the project ideas and how they can get, and what kind of project idea they'll be introducing. And if the student finds the idea interesting, they start corresponding with the mentor, which you would have done otherwise also, in case you had applied when the organizations had been announced. But in order to get on with the competition, in order to be in the competition to get in, students would generally go ahead and ask before the organizations are actually announced. So what you should do is, you have to browse through the organizations that have participated in the previous year. Now, how to do that? It would be a good idea to make a note of the points that I'm going to mention right now, because if you follow these points, you'd be able to locate the contact of the mentors, right? So what you have to do make a note, those who are interested in this thing. You have to visit the Google Summer of Code homepage. Just type Google Summer of Code on Google, and the first website that you're going to go get is the Google Summer of Code homepage. Click on that, scroll through it, you're going to find one link called Archive. You click on that archive, another page, another site opens. In that, there'll be a number of projects that have been done by students in the previous editions of Google Summer of Code. You have to click on any of the projects. You might click on every single project that is there. And when you click on the project, what you get to see is, you get to see the name of the participant, you get to see the project description, and you get to see the link to the organization. If you click on the organization link, you get the contact information, you get the mail IDs and the mailing list of that organization. So at this point of time, when you get the mailing list of an organization that you're interested in working with, you have to mail the mentors That is, the mail ID of the mentors is already given there. You have to mail them after getting the mail IDs and ask them. You have to establish your candidature saying that I am a student and I'm currently studying here and I want to participate in Google Summer of Code this year. And I've been really interested in the kind of projects that you have done in past years and past editions. And I'd like to know if you're going to participate this year or not. And in case you're participating, what are your project ideas, or where can I find your project ideas? So most of the organizations, and I'm saying this with 100% surety, that most of the organizations are going to respond, saying that they do want to participate, or maybe they are not planning to participate, but you're definitely going to get a response. Maybe it will come a little late because of the time zone difference, but now is the optimum time. Now is the correct time to start contacting the various organizations. Why should you do that right now? Because of the competition. And secondly, most organizations would give you some small task to determine whether you have any idea of coding, whether you understand the basics of programming, whether you will be a good fit for their project or not. So it would be a good idea to start on as early as possible and not wait. So just let me show you the timeline, a rough timeline of how it's going to proceed. So the list of organizations and therefore the project ideas would be announced on March 10th of this year. And the student application submission would start by 29th March. And this will, I think, be open till sometime, in April. So like 15-day window is generally open there where you can submit your proposal. And I'll talk about the project proposal also, that is student application also. And then the selected proposals would be announced on May 17, and your final code submission would be by August 16. And the final result would be announced by August 31. So usually people should be applying after March 10th, they should be contacting organization after March 10th. But the thing is, other people have already contacted them beforehand. So if you're going to contact them by after March, then your chances of getting selected get reduced. So you have to contact them right now, and you have to ask whether they are planning to get, participate in Google Summer of Code this year, in this year's edition. And if they are participating, what kind of projects are they hoping to, what is their project idea? Ask them if you can present a new project idea. So basically, this is an exercise in communication. You have to be good with communication and be formal. At least at the start, be formal, write formal mails and ask them very politely, don't badger people, don't send repetitive mails, but make a point to communicate, because that drastically improves your chances of getting selected. So after you've browsed through the organization, you make a list of projects that interest you, and you have to observe by yourself, because Google, when you are applying for this program, Google by itself does not have any stipulations that you should have completed 1 year of study, or you should have completed maybe 3 years of study, or that you should have this degree or that, or you should know this. Google says nothing. It is the organization's prerogative whether you're going to select it or not. And how do you know whether you're going to get selected by an organization or not? You have to see by yourself whether you have skills for doing something or not. For example, there are various tech stacks that a project can be involved with. There might be web development, there might be app development, there might be machine learning and deep learning, there might be other aspects, there might be core software engineering. So you have to look and see whether you'd be able to learn this through the next 2-3 months, whether you'd be able to learn and complete the given project, and you have to, maybe for example, you have done some work in web development. Then you might want to apply in projects that implement web development, so that you can get selected and you can get some work done. So what Google officially recommends is that if you see any project idea where you feel that you have even 51% skills, like a bit more than half of the skills required at this point of time, and you'd be able to learn the next 49% of it along the way, then you should definitely apply for it, right? And how do you make sure that you're going to get selected, is by contacting the associated mentors, by writing them mails, and by establishing your candidature. So we have spoken about how to participate. Now the point is how to get selected. If you've understood the basics of participation, I'm going to talk about how I personally got selected and how I have also observed my other seniors and batchmates got selected. So these are a few points that have worked for all of us and hopefully would work for you too. So the first step towards getting selected is making a move and committing to a project idea. You have to go ahead. You have to be the one to ask project mentors. You have to be the first one to go ahead and ask an organization whether they are participating or not. You have to ask what kind of project ideas they have. You have to find out you have to, there's a very small problem statement. Usually it will be one paragraph long, or maybe not even that. You have to interpret that problem statement, and then you have to use your own brain on how you are going to proceed with this, how you are going to develop this software, or how you're going to develop this part of the project. And then you have to write, you have to make an entire document for that, and that is called the project proposal. So there is usually a template of there's a fixed template of how to write, what points should be included in your proposal. So that is different for different organizations. So after you have understood the project idea, the mentors would likely ask you to write a proposal. So at that point of time, you have to ask them for the template, and on the basis of the template, you'll start writing the proposal. And after you've completed the proposal, you have to submit it on the GSOC page after registering on the GSOC page. So that is the part of the application. So I think I'm not very sure I remember most of it, but I think you have to also submit a PDF of your college ID so that you can prove that you're studying at an institute, right? So you have to submit that, your college ID, and your proposal. So Google allows for 3 proposals for 3 organizations, or maybe 3 proposals for the same organization with 3 different project ideas. So at maximum, you can apply for 3 organizations and you have a chance of getting selected in any of them. So the first step, like I said, is making a move and committing to a project. And the earlier you contact a mentor regarding a project idea, the more are your chances of getting selected. Why? Because the more you contact them, the earlier you contact them, the more you communicate with them, the more are they going to give you pointers on how to write a successful proposal. The more they are going to, give an idea of what they want out of the project. So if you are able to frame, your ideas in such a way, if you're able to frame out the template, the proposal in such a way that you're able to implement what they are asking of the project, what they envision for the project, then you're going to get selected. Also, what is absolutely important is knowing the basics of Git and GitHub, because this is first of all an open source development program. This program is intended only to be open source. So it's a great idea to know about open source beforehand. And secondly, the entire thing is being implemented on Git. There are other version control platforms, but GitHub is the open source platform that Google Summer of Code is using. So you should know the basics of Git. You should know the basics of GitHub. All this is available on YouTube. You just have to search out a few good videos and you can, get started with this. It doesn't take a lot of time. So what would be a great idea would to, if you don't have a GitHub account, making a GitHub account. And after you have registered on GitHub, made a GitHub account, you should start, pushing some code, right? For example, you have solved any programming question on HackerRank, on HackerEarth, anywhere, just, simple things. It's not even important to have a full-fledged project done. Anything, a simple bit of code, if you're able to push it, and if you're able to pull code from other resources, if you're able to fork code, if you're able to clone the code from other places, other GitHub accounts, then that means that you have learned the basics of Git and GitHub. So most of the organizations are going to give you some kind of task before you submit the application to gauge out whether you are suitable to the project idea or not, because a lot of students apply for this program, right? So in most of the tasks, you would be asked to implement some bit of, Git, some part of GitHub. Maybe you'd be asked to solve an issue on the existing code base. Maybe you'd be asked to, make a pull request for that. maybe you'd be asked to make a branch for that. So you should know the basics. If you know and if you learn, if you're open to learning the basics of GitHub, your chances of getting selected increase. So like I said before, most of the organizations give you an assignment, a small task, or ask you to fix some kind of bug in the existing code base. And if you're able to do that, you're going to the mentors are going to give you a go ahead on writing the proposal. And again, the most important part, the key to getting selected, is a good proposal. So I'm going to talk about the proposal right now, project proposal. But before that, I want to, enhance on the idea of communication. So what you have to start with is communicating with the mentors. You have to be the first one to be writing the mails, on the mailing list or the mail ID that they have given. And you have to establish your candidature by telling them that you found their previous project ideas interesting, or maybe, you like their organization and the kind of tasks they're doing, you like their code base, anything. You have to establish your candidature by telling them that you know programming, that you're open to learning more, right? And maybe giving them a bit of taste of what you have done by pushing a project of yours on GitHub and giving them the link that, okay, this is something that I did before, and it is relating, the same kind of technology that your project is going to use. So I think I'm going to be a good fit, right? And after you've done that, they're going to reply back. If they find, most of the times they do reply back, whether they find you appropriate or not, they would reply back with some kind of reply. And if they have found, you a worthy candidate, if they think that you're going to be a good fit to the project, to their program, what they're going to give is they're possibly going to give you some kind of task. Most organizations do give. There are some organizations that do not give any kind of task, but then that they entirely depend on the proposal. So they judge entirely by proposal. Otherwise, there are most organizations would give you some kind of task. So what you have to do is you have to complete the task in the given time. They mostly give 1 to 2 weeks to complete the task. And if you get stuck very badly where you can't, Google stuff, and even by Googling, you're not able to, even on Stack Overflow, by Google, by asking your seniors, your teachers, you're not able to solve it, or you need more time to do it, then you can communicate it to them, communicate where you got stuck and how you should move ahead. So they're going to help you, right? And then you can complete the task. So basically, Google recommends doing this for 3 organizations, as it accepts 3 different proposals. So you can submit 3 different proposals for 3 different organizations, right? So you can do this process for 3 organizations so that it increases your chances of getting selected. Rather than applying for only 1 organization and not getting selected, it is better to apply for more organizations, for 2 organizations, for 3 organizations, so that your chances of getting selected increase. So when you have completed the task, you can tell the mentors, and if the mentors are satisfied, they'll ask you to write the proposal. So by that time you're writing the proposal after completing the task, you have secured a good chance of getting selected, right? So moving forward, what does the project proposal look like? So most of the organizations have a template for the project proposal, right? For example, I was associated with this organization called National Resource for Network Biology. And I found their project idea very interesting. The things that they had done in the past very interesting. So I contacted them and I found their project idea interesting. It was regarding biology, and which is another of subjects that I do find really interesting. And it also had to do with machine learning, which is another domain which I found really interesting. And I had done a few things here and there, a few small things, just to try my hand out, and I had liked it. So I contacted them and they were very kind about it, and they replied, and I followed whatever they told me to do. And I was able to write a good proposal. So, and finally got selected. So there is a template. For example, in my template, it was, why do you want to participate in a biology related project? Have you had any experience in biology beforehand? And explain how you're going to complete this project. What is your project idea about? Elaborate on it. And basically there's a bunch of questions, and you have to frame like really nice answers for those. And then I had to give a timeline of how I was going to break the project into separate group, into separate tasks, into small tasks, into phases, and how I would complete the work in different phases. So basically I gave a week-wise breakdown of what I was going to complete in every single week of the coding period. And when I was going to design the test, when I was going to debug it, when I was going to create documentation for that. Also, I did have an auxiliary task of creating a data set for the machine learning model. So so part of the timeline had to be dedicated to creating a data set. So you generally in your proposal you'd be asked to elaborate on how you're going to complete a particular task, how you're going to go about it. So the more elaborate and detailed your answer is, the better your project proposal looks, right? So you have to ask your organization, the mentors, for the proposal template, what the template should look like, and Google does have a separate template of its own. So if the organization does not have any template at all, they'd refer you to that template, and you have to fill out in that template. And you'd have to take inputs from your mentors in what they would appreciate in a good proposal, what points should be there in a good proposal. So you have to ask them, right? You have to ask, so what do you envision, or what do you think this should be looking like? And they definitely give, most mentors do end up giving good inputs which you can put in your project proposal. Another really important point is you should not be copying pasting other project proposals. In case you're filling out with your friend and you copy paste each other's stuff, that is not cool at all, very uncool, and it can kind of lead to disqualification, because organizations maintain a track of what kind of proposals are being submitted by people. So try not to copy stuff from anywhere. Be very original and be very true to your expectations. Be honest. For example, there is something, regarding the 49% that you do not know, you have to be true that I'm hoping to learn through the process. I'll go ahead learning, and this is the part that I know, this is the part that I do not know. But the main idea is how original you can be with something. Given a rough idea for a project, how original can you be to develop a meaningful product out of it, a meaningful software product out of it? So that is the entire point of writing a project proposal. And another important point, very important point, to end up getting selected, is to get the proposal reviewed by the mentors finally before submitting it. So you have to communicate that too, right? When you have written out your final proposal and you're like, okay, this looks good and I want to submit it, just get it reviewed by your mentor before you submit it. And whatever inputs they are giving, do take them into account and mention them in your proposal. So that is how you would write a project proposal. And afterwards, you have to submit it when the student application submission starts. So you have to make a Google Doc, right? A Google Doc, a Word document, anything, and you have to write down the answers to the curated questions, or whatever points they have mentioned, you have to elaborate on those points, and you have to mention a weekly timeline of what you're going to do. Or maybe, depends on the mentors mostly, but you have to elaborate on what you're going to do through the coding period. So basically the program looks like this. After you get selected, after the project proposals which are selected are announced, there is usually a small period of time, like around 2 to 3 weeks, wherein you have to bond with the community. So basically, you not only speak to the mentors, but you speak to the other people who are in the community as well. So that gets done via maybe a Slack channel where the other people of the community are present, who are actively, participating and helping out with the code in the organization. You can speak to them, you can communicate with them, you can learn how your organization writes the code, you can learn how the previous code base has been, what on you have to elaborate. You can do your you can get your development setup done. For example, some projects would specify that you work on Jupyter Notebook for your Python projects. Some organizations might end up mentioning that you have to work on Eclipse for Java, or maybe somebody would say that we want to get this app made, so do it on Android Studio. So that is also the time when you set up your development framework, right? When you do your developmental setup on your end, right? So that is done in the community bonding period, and afterwards your coding period starts. By till last year, we used to have 3 coding phases. So there was coding phase 1, then evaluation phase 1. So whatever you had done till then, you had to mention it to Google that, okay, I have done till this point of work, and if it got approved by your mentors, then you would get the first amount of payment, and you move on to the second coding phase. Then you code again for around 3 weeks. Then again there's 1 week of evaluation. Again you get passed by, if your mentors think that you're doing well, then you get passed on ahead to the third phase of coding round, and then you code again, complete your whatever was left over, you smooth it out, and you complete the debugging phase. You write tests for checking whether your code is working right or not, and you write the documentation as well and complete it by the end of the third coding phase and submit it. And that is when the final evaluation takes place. So after the final evaluation, which is also seen by, I suppose it's seen by people at Google, whether you have done anything or not, wherein you have to mention all the commits that you have made on your open source project and all the pull requests that you have made, and you have to give basically a detailed outline of what you've done in these 3 months, what all you have achieved. And if it gets approved again by the mentors and the other judges who are there, I don't have an idea of who all are the judges, but you have to mention, you have to provide your entire documentation and everything for the final code evaluation. And if it's done, if they find it appropriate and up to the mark, quality wise, quantity wise, then they you go ahead and you get the certificate of completion, and you get your final payment, and you've become a successful Google Summer of Code participant, right? So this is how it actually works. Okay, and that's mostly all about it. That's a brief of what the program is about and how to participate in it and how to end up getting selected on my experiences. So hopefully you will apply and hopefully you'll all get selected. So that's it. I'll now be open to taking up questions if you have any of them. Any questions?
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hello. Good evening.
Ma'am, I'm having one question. May I?
Yeah, do ask.
Ma'am, I am first year student and I do not know so much about coding. Means I know the basics of Python and I want to participate in this GSOC. So ma'am, how I can be better to participate in? How much coding I must know to participate?
That's a very subjective question. How much coding or how much depth one should have in any subject. But the idea is that, for example, you're given any problem statement and you have to implement a data structure in that development process. So you should know your language well enough, or you should be good enough at learning. You should be fast at learning, that if you have to apply some kind of data structure or some kind of algorithm in the process, you should be able to write code for that. Basically, that is the amount of expertise you should have. You should have a good idea of the different data structures and algorithms, right? So that is the basic amount of expertise they want. But like I mentioned before, since this is kind of pretty competitive, they do prefer students who have better coding profiles, who know about the tech stack, who have done some kinds of projects, who are able to complete the tasks that the organizations do give them. But that being said, there is no boundary. Nobody is stopping you from taking part, and it would be a good idea to apply even if you're not selected, because then you get to learn a lot. You get to learn how to write a proposal, how to communicate with people, and what level of skills you would require after you communicate with the organization and after you do the task that has been given by them. You get to know at what level you should be. But to answer your question, you should know the data structures and algorithms of one language very well. Does that answer your question, Anamika?
Yes, ma'am. Clear. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Any other question?
Medha, I want to ask something. Then
Yeah.
when you had applied for a GSOC, I think you are in second year.
I had completed. Yeah, I was in second year. Yeah.
So, data structure and algorithm is in second year. In third semester, we have to read. And I think you had started your coding from second sem or first sem.
Yeah, somewhere around that time. I didn't do it in school because I had both medical and non-medical background. So I appeared for both medicine and engineering. So I didn't have computer science and I really had no idea of what coding was about. I did start after coming to college. You are right about me starting in the second semester. True. Go ahead.
So it's only about the language, or anyone can apply it for web development or anything.
Yeah, actually, it's not so much about language. It is more about tech stack, web development and other things. Because usually there are projects which have to do with, four particular domains. It can either be web development, it can either be Android development, it can either be machine learning, it can be a mix of all of these. When somebody wants to implement some kind of machine learning task and they want to implement some kind of app development task also, and otherwise, the fourth field is, of course, core engineering, core software engineering, where you're, developing some kind of web application or something of that sort. So if it's definitely students who have some kind of, knowledge, basic knowledge even of any kind of tech stack, they are for sure preferred over other students who are only like, okay, I know only C++ or I know only Java. But then the thing is, you have to see the project. For example, there is a project which implements the software only in C++. At that point of time, your knowing web development is not going to help your case. At that point of time, they are only going to focus on whether you're good at C++ or not. So you have to be careful, and there's like a plethora of organizations, plethora of ideas. You can choose from any of them. You just have to see whether the thing that you want to do, whether the technology that you want to learn about, whether the technology that you are good with matches with the project idea. So if you match, if you see whether the thing is matching or not, your chances of getting selected increase. So that's it. Any other
Okay,
question?
and you are Microsoft Codes as well. So please share your experience of this also.
Okay, unlike Google Summer of Code, Google Summer of Code is an off-campus opportunity, right? So it is open for everyone. Anybody can take part in it, and anybody can, be, involved with it, regardless of what institute you're from or any other thing. But this Codes was an on-campus opportunity. So I have, and maybe it is open to, off-campus as well, but I don't have any idea regarding that. So if your university, if your institute is having the CODES program as an on-campus opportunity, I'd be very glad to elaborate on it. So basically, what happens is they come around this time only. They come around, I think somewhere. I don't know whether I'm allowed to disclose this or not, but they do come in second year. They take a test. There are small coding questions in the beginning. Afterwards there are other core engineering related questions, and if you do well on that, you end up getting selected. So that is, and in that programmers, they make you do some projects and something, and afterwards it goes on basically. So it is mostly an on campus opportunity. So I possibly could not answer about how it should be for, because that process varies for different universities across different institutes. So what happened in our university might not necessarily be what happened at another organization. But basically they ask programming questions, again basic programming questions, and they ask you subject related questions. So you should be good with OS, you should be good with data structures, you should be good with algorithms. And if you are able to answer the questions well, if you are able to complete the test on time with a good accuracy, your chances of getting selected increase. Have I answered you, Sangamitra?
Yes, Meta, you had answered. I think, yeah, Microsoft Codes is only for girls now.
Yeah, it's only for girls. Open for girls only, Codes. Okay. Any other question? I think there are some questions in the chat box. Which organization you got selected for? I got selected for National Resource for Network Biology, and Can you tell about web development? I am afraid this session is not dedicated to web development, and also I'm not an expert at web development, so I can't tell about it. Actually, whatever I'd be telling you might end up being wrong, so better not. I'm not very much familiar with coding. I'm in first year and I studied as much as taught in the college. So can I participate? See, there is no boundary to participating. If you are studying in a university, you can definitely participate. Google does not stop anyone from participating, right? But the thing is, you should know the basics of programming. Otherwise, how are you going to complete a software development project? You know, they literally make you complete an entire, they entirely make you write the code for one full software. So if you do not know even the basics of programming, if you do not know data structures, if you do not know algorithms, if you do not know any tech stack, you know, for example, you know, you don't know about web development or app development, anything at all, it will be difficult for you to complete that because you'd have to learn it first, right? But if you have even 51% skills, if you know the basics of programming, and if you have confidence in yourself that I can learn while doing it, then you should definitely apply. Are you on LinkedIn? Yes, I am. I know as much as I know from us. Microsoft does not. So that is, I cannot answer regarding Microsoft. This session is meant for Google Summer of Code. Are there any more questions? I'd be glad to take up any more questions. Regarding, please focus on regarding. Please do refrain from complaining about seniors. Do refrain from talking. See, data structure is a must. You should know this data structures and algorithms. Can you please share your experience, how you start coding and how you made your grip in it? Okay, that's a good question. How I started coding, first of all, I paid a good deal of attention to, I did have a subject called Introduction to C in the first semester. So I paid attention to what it was all about so that I could at least get an understanding of what you know, C language is and what programming is all about. I didn't have any idea of it beforehand, right? Apart from that, we do have a lot of technical societies in my university where our seniors and our peers help each other to learn. So I started learning coding from my seniors at university. We have a society called Lean, where I was a mentee. So I learned that the seniors used to teach us coding. We used to take our computers with us, you know, our laptops, and they'd sit and help us with questions. So that is where I first started to do something on the computers to start coding. Afterwards, what I did was for example, in third semester, we started learning about data structures. So what I did was I of course paid a lot of attention in class, and afterwards I used to do at least 10 questions from Geeks for Geeks regarding one particular data structure, regarding one particular language, so that I could understand how that data structure was being implemented and what were the different functions that data structure you know, dealt with. So after doing 10 or so questions, I understood how that was being implemented, and afterwards I would solve questions on HackerRank and HackerEarth. Previously, in the first part of the time when I didn't know so much about you know, programming, I used to do that on HackerRank and HackerEarth, and I started to do that, and I would, you know, solve 10 to 15 questions by myself, so that I understood that you know, this is how, given a particular problem, we can implement our one, you know, data structure or any algorithm at all. So that is how I started coding, and afterwards I got a taste for it because problem solving is fun, right? So afterwards, I started doing competitive programming, and because there is also a very good culture for it at my university. It is common for everyone, almost all the students, to be a part of, you know, some kind of competitive coding society or something. So it is a culture. You have to do competitive coding. So we all did. So nothing special about it. So if you want to start coding, I recommend, if you want to follow my path, of course, you can start learning from Geeks for Geeks. You can start learning from books. Of course, books are best. And after you've done a few questions from there, maybe start practicing questions on some kind of platform like HackerEarth or HackerRank. And then you can, basically move ahead to CodeChef and LeetCode. Are you doing competitive programming? Yes, I do it. I do competitive programming. You said earlier that your profile should be good and you have already done some projects. So I would like to ask where get those projects from? Okay. So I happened to do a summer internship in my first year at the National Physical Laboratory in New Delhi, wherein I was working under scientist Dr. Kirti Soni, who made me do a few tasks. So from there on, I started to learn about machine learning, and then there is one website called if somebody is interested in machine learning, then you can. Follow this. It's called machinelearningmastery.com, wherein you get very small snippets of code, small, how to apply a neural network, how to apply a convolution neural network. And there is very small, easy Python, easy to understand Python code, which I, applied on different kinds of data sets that I could lay my hands on. Where to get those data sets from? You can get the data sets from Kaggle. That's also another website where you can get data sets from. So get data sets from there, get the code from machinelearningmastery.com or towards data science, and then modify the code so that you can, learn about how the code is being applied. So those are the kind of projects that I did. And also I solved a lot of competitive coding questions. So I put them up on GitHub also. They also served, as minor, small projects for a first year student or maybe a second year student. Am I answering any questions? Please do answer if you think that I'm done, or if you need any more insight, you can ask. That will do. Are you doing AI? Which platform do you do competitive coding? I prefer HackerRank and HackerEarth. Why? Because most companies that do come for internships and placements would ask you to write your test online coding round on HackerRank and HackerEarth. I mean, mostly it's either HackerRank, HackerEarth, or Metal. So I prefer doing so that I know what kind of compilation errors come up. So I prefer doing it on those platforms. But otherwise, for getting good questions, where do I find good questions from? Like really nice questions. For that, I get questions from LeetCode, and of course, Geeks for Geeks. So I hope I have answered. If someone wants to start full stack web development, which tech stack should I learn? See, web development is the tech stack. If you're wanting to do full stack web development, then the tech stack you're working on is web development. So you would want to purchase an online course for that, or maybe do an online thing on YouTube, and then you can learn the tech stack called full stack web development. Right? Am I answering your question? Would it be better to participate now or after some time, as in third or fourth? You are the best judge for determining that. At my university, we recommend first year students to start. We recommend because after second year, there is a pressure for getting internships. So you have to do, practice competitive coding in earnest over the summer. For example, Google Summer of Code is not about competitive coding. It has like no connection with competitive coding by itself, because you're solving a real life problem, a real life, development project. And competitive coding is basically they give you some kind of question and you have to apply the right kind of algorithm, right kind of data structure, and you can solve it. So there's a difference between both the things. We recommend always first year students to participate, second year students to participate as well. So if you are in first or second semester and you have a basic working knowledge of coding in one particular language, if you think you have a good base, then you should definitely participate, right? What are the steps to participate in GSOC? Priyansh Rai, I hope you have not joined late. I did explain it in my presentation. I would share the presentation with you all. You can go through it. But basically, the steps are you have to go to the homepage of Google Summer of Code. When you reach the homepage, you have to browse through the archive. When you have gone to the archive, that opens up another page where you can see the projects that have been done by students, participants earlier. And when you click on any of the project, you can get to the link of the organization for which that project was done, right? So if you click on the organization, you will get the link to the mailing list, and you will get the link to the mentors email IDs. So you have to contact the mentors and ask them whether they are going to participate this year or not. And if they are participating this year, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I was telling you about the steps, right? So for when you get to the mailing list and the email IDs of the mentors, you have to mail them asking whether they are going to participate this year or not, and they'll reply in affirmative or negative. And if they are participating, they'll provide you a few project ideas. And when you get the project ideas, you can elaborate on them to write a project proposal, and then you get it reviewed by them, and then you submit on the Google Summer of Code site, right? That is how you participate. And if you don't want to go through this entire procedure, then what you can do is you can wait till 10th March. On 10th March, the organizations and their project ideas will be announced officially. Then you can browse through the list of projects that are already there, and then on clicking on the project idea list, you will get the information of the mentor. You will get the email ID of the mentor, and then you have to write to the mentor asking how you should proceed, or that you found this project idea interesting and that you'd like to participate, and then they'll tell you how to proceed further. But the basic idea is you have to communicate with the mentors associated with the particular project idea, and then they'll give you information, how to proceed further. Basically, you have to write a project proposal, and they'll help you write the proposal, right? And after you submit the proposal, you become eligible. Then the entire procedure for selection goes on, wherein you have to sit quiet, and you'll get to know whether you're selected or not after the result is published on the GSOC website, and you'll get a mail if you get selected, right? So that is the process of participating. Priyansh, I hope I've answered. CodeChef is good, definitely it's good, but yeah, CodeChef is good, right? You can practice on CodeChef. HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Yes, that is what you have to learn for web development. Thank you, Nishi and Ashwini. How can someone make a promising proposal without having much experience? Right? Even I didn't have a lot of experience, honestly speaking. I do not know what you would consider, what generally would be considered, a lot of a great deal of experience. Someone could look at my resume and say that you have a good amount of experience. Someone could say that you don't have any experience at all, right? So don't let your experience stand in your way. If you have a good coding background, if you understand data structures and algorithms, you should apply, right? And the steps towards doing that is you have to see a project idea. And if you find that project idea interesting, you have to elaborate on it, right? And to make this clearer, I will give my own example. For my project idea, there was this statement that you have to develop a software wherein you can apply a deep learning model for segmentation of cells to create SBML files. Now, if I elaborate on it, you have microscopic images of cells, right? Cellular images are there. And there are various components in a cell. For example, there is cytoplasm, there is nucleus, there is ectoplasm, different things, mitochondria. So what I had to do was I had to separate each of the components. For example, you had to separate a nucleus, you had to color it differently, and you had to separate the cytoplasm, and you had to mention it differently so that a colored image would appear to be a binary image in black and white, right? So that only one component of it was highlighted, right? So this was previously done by people manually, where they'd use Photoshop to get this task done. But what we were wanting to do in this project was we wanted to use a deep learning model, and we wanted to do it in such a way so that this task would be automated, right? So this was one part of it. So I had to ask my mentors whether this kind of deep learning model would be useful or not, whether they wanted to implement it in Python or Java, what kind of framework they wanted. And when they answered back, I was able to form an idea in my mind. Okay, I have to proceed like this to implement this. For that, I needed some idea of machine learning. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do that, right? So that is where my experience in machine learning helped out. Afterwards, I also had to extend their software. They already had a software called Kaito SPML, wherein I had to extend on Kaito SPML to automate the task of producing SBML files from these images, these binary images, you know, to be done in a collection rather than one by one. So for that also, I had to write a bit of program. I had to do a bit of, programming. So that was another part. And there was also another component where I had to make a data set for the cell images. So that is another component. So basically, there was only this much part mentioned. There was only this title given, that we want to develop a software tool so that the spatial modeling of cells can be done, and these can be converted into SPML files. I had no idea about what SPML file was. I had no idea about what segmentation was. I had no idea about what deep learning model would be used. But when I started communicating with the mentors, I understood that, okay, this is what they want. This is what the code looks like. This is the previous, software that they have created. And after I understood those, I could expand on my own ideas that, okay, I'll write the code in Java. I'll write it like this. I'll use this deep learning model. I'll make the data set like this. And when I formulated all that, I had to put it on a Google Doc. I had to put that on a Word document, right? And that is my project proposal. When I done it in a particular format that they have mentioned, that format is called a template. So I have to write my ideas and how I'm going to proceed in a Word document according to a given format. And when that document is completed, it is called a project proposal. So you have to write a project proposal like that. So you can make a promising proposal, Ashwini, by understanding your project idea very well. If you understand your project idea very well, then you can make a nice proposal. Then Chinmay asks, ma'am, I am from EC branch. Will you please tell me what opportunities do I have for this? You have every single opportunity as every other person out there for Google Summer of Code, because nobody is discriminating between branches. The only thing is that you should have good, a good base of coding. You should have a good idea of how to code, right? That is the only thing. Otherwise, whatever I have said for, computer science students applies for you as well, because there is no boundary on or exception for any branch. Hopefully I've answered, Chinmay. Any other questions? I'm up for questions. Questions, doubts? Thank you, Chinmay. Any other questions? Okay, you missed some points. Right, I'll be sharing the presentation with you all so that you will get to know about those points. But to sum it up, Google Summer of Code is a program where you can sit back at home and you can contribute open source for any organization. You can create a software development project, right? For that, you get paid also. You get some kind of stipend for this, right? Till last year, it was around $3,000. This year, according to Prakash, it is $1,500, right? And you do this in the summer. You do this sitting at your home virtually, right? So you don't have to go anywhere. So you have to get selected for it, of course, right? To get selected, you have to write a project proposal. There are project ideas. You can select any project idea. You can contact the mentors regarding that, project idea, and you can communicate with them to write a good project proposal. If you end up writing a good project proposal and if you are able to submit it in time, you get selected, right? So this is a basic summing up, and I'll also share the PPT with you all, and you'll also get the recording. So I hope you'll be able to understand them. You're able to get all the points. Anamika asks, ma'am, for any projects, we must have web development skills or without? Okay, this is actually a very valid question, a good question. There are, like I mentioned before, there are a few, tech stacks which are out there. There is web development, there's Android development, there is machine learning, deep learning. If you have skills in any of these, you can apply to projects associated with any of these. right? It is not necessary for you to know web development. Secondarily, it's not necessarily necessary for you to know any of these skills. Actually, the only thing you should know is the basics of programming, right? You can take up any project, but your chances of getting selected increase if you have some idea of the project. For example, let's say there's this organization and they want to create an app development project, right? So maybe they mention it in their prerequisite that contact us if you have some kind of app development skills, if you have done this before, if you have some knowledge of it. So you have to choose. There are literally thousands of project ideas. You have to choose that, one or two project idea which match with your skill, which you think you have a skill for. And I'm not saying that you cannot apply for a web development project if you have not done it till now, because the basic idea is that you will get to learn it. You will learn while doing. So you are learning web development and you're also doing your project side by side. If you can do that, if you're confident enough about doing that, you can go ahead. It's not necessary for you to know web development. I hope I have answered, Anamika. Any more questions, please do ask. If you have any more questions. Thank you, Himanshu. Okay, Anamika. Any more questions? Thank you, Anamika.
Hello, Meda. I want to ask something. That when you had participated for GSOC, how can it help for an institute regarding something? Like if an institute is ready to mentor some student for GSOC, then how can it is helpful for them?
It is a purely individual endeavor, Sangamitra. It reflects on your resume, for example, right? For example, if I did get into GSOC, if I got selected into GSOC last year, that does not help my university apart from maybe bringing it into notice of other people. For example, there is a community for Google Summer of Code students, right? We form a community. Past GSOCers, future GSOCers, there is a community, right? So other people will get to know about your institute if it's not so well renowned. But apart from that, there is no as such financial help or any other kind of help from any other any other organization. This is mostly an individual effort. So whatever you are going to get, it's for you yourself. But of course, some universities may mention it as a part of their students' achievements because this is sort of a prestigious program. So if you end up getting selected for Google Summer of Code and complete it successfully, it becomes a good opportunity for your university students, as you can tell your juniors, right, how you got in and you can influence them to get in. So that is how it helps your university. Otherwise there isn't any financial help or as such regarding the institute that you come from.
Okay.
Okay, any other question? Any other doubts? Any general questions? I'm up for it.
Any other questions, students? Host, please take care of it.
Yes, Ashu. If anyone have any queries, then ask. Otherwise, we have to end up this session.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vidha, for being here. It's really, it's a really pleasure for us, and you have done a lot of efforts and complete hard work, as you have shown in your presentation, and how on what background you have been, and then how you started coding in your engineering. And the students ask their doubts about that, how to start the coding. Basically, these questions, they come in their mind, that what to do, and you have explained each and everything in a very gentle way, and hopefully they will learn from them. It's a very knowledgeable and very informative presentation from your side, and we hope that our students will take a note of it, and definitely they will also adapt the same things, how to apply for the Google Summer of Code. And it's good thing that you're also sharing your presentation with all the students. You're also sharing the recording with the students, and if they are still having any doubts, they can write a mail to you, and it will be really helpful for them. Okay, and
Sure. I do request everyone to, connect if they have any doubt to connect with me on LinkedIn rather than sending me a mail, because that is an institutional email ID, sir. So I'd rather students ask me on LinkedIn rather than mailing me questions. Although if they are not on LinkedIn and do find some questions that they really want to be answered, then they can write me a mail, but preferably on LinkedIn. And apart from it, sir, thank you for this opportunity. I had a great time today, a great session, and it was a very, good use of my own time. I'm feeling benefited from it, and I hope, sir, students from your university, your institute, do get selected in Google Summer of Code, and I wish them all kind of best wishes in all sorts of future endeavors, any kind of future endeavors.
thanks a lot, Midha, for that. And in future also, we really again expect that you will be mentoring the students of our institute if they require, because yeah, it's a new opening, it's a starting of a journey. So we really expect for the next time also. And thanks again, thanks a lot for being here.
Same on my end. It was a
Uh,
pleasure being here.
It's over to you, Sangmitra and Shreya. Do you want to ask or say something to her?
No, if anyone have any queries, then you ask. Otherwise, we have to end up. No, I don't think anyone have any queries now. So it's nice meeting you, Medha.
Nice
Your
meeting
guidance really, yeah, your guidance really meant a lot of us.
Yeah,
So no, yeah, actually, we don't have such a guidance from anyone, and apart from that, you come here and guide us for this session. It's pleasure meeting you.
I do understand that. I really hope I have helped you in any small way. And really, I am not any kind of, such a person to be asking for guidance or anything. But if I have been able to help in any small way, I'm really glad for that, glad about it. And I'll be sharing the link with you, Sangamitra. I think you're a connection of mine on LinkedIn, right?
No, ma'am, I don't have. I don't think
Okay,
I.
right. Sir, then I'll be sharing the link to this presentation with you via mail or
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
okay, sir. Then you can probably further distribute it to the students, right?
yeah, definitely. I will share it with the students.
Okay, sir. Then I'll share the link to the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Midha.
Thank you,
Shreya
sir.
ma'am, would you like to say something to Medha ma'am?
Thank you, Medha, for this amazing session. You helped us a lot in knowing what actually GSOC is, and you helped us to know how we can apply and what we can do. So thank you for the session. It was very nice, and
Yeah, you're embarrassing me right now. I really hope I've been able to help in some small way. But really, thank you so much for having me over. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nirmal sir. Thank you, Sangamitra. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, all the students who have asked such nice questions. Anamika, Himanshu, Prakash, Priyansh. Thank you so much. It was a really meaningful session on my end. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Midha. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I'll log out now.
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay.
Good to see you, Medha ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
bye, good evening.